Is holding hands sensual? Could be. It can be. You're 15 years old, sitting there at the movie theater. But if somebody treated me during a tanda like we were on stage and this was their scenario moment, I would be like, what is happening?
Right? It's like embrace and bring this sense of I don't know what it is. So Melody, the other day, I'm sure you get this a lot. Someone said to me that they love tango. They're so fascinated by it because it's such a sensual dance. And immediately I was like, is it? And that's my question for us today.
Is it sensual?
Sensual. And let me maybe clarify. Is it sensual by default? Is it
Okay.
inherently sensual?
Okay.
Um,
Social tango is
social
social.
Argentine tango.
Not talking about a scenario.
Not talking about a choreography that's meant to create a
Mhm.
certain vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But is there something about this dance? And then it actually made me think, what does it mean to be sensual? And I looked it up and realized there's many things that we probably pack into the same word.
Yes.
We can be sexual, which is what I
Sure.
think a lot of people think combine sensual with. We can be sensorial, which is
Yes.
literally just activating your senses in a
Yes.
non-biased way.
Yes.
It can be erotic.
Mm-hmm.
It could be spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, which one is it?
Okay.
Do we think there's a default?
All right. So let's go. Let's just have a shared definition. The
Yes.
sensual being of a sensorial nature, but typically with a sexual connotation. Okay. So yes, there's some sexuality put in there.
In the U.S.
In the US specifically. Okay. I think when we polled the audience, is tango sensual? A lot of people went specifically to, oh, well, it's of the senses, of course it is. But I think what they're really meaning is sensorial, which sensorial does not have the sexual connotation
Mhm.
at all. So you're saying, okay, it's what you bring to it, right? It's whatever you bring to it. Let's just
And
say
your
at a
back- your
baseline,
understanding.
when does it have to be? Is it always?
Is it naturally?
Is
Not
it
always, but
naturally?
is there something inherent about it that makes it
Makes
that
it
way?
sensual? I'm
Or
going to
do
say
we
no.
make it that way?
I'm going to say we infuse that into our dance, or not even the dance, our own lived experience by what we're feeling. And I'm saying this because I had a really interesting conversation with a friend. And I was saying, is it sensual? Because you haven't weighed in yet. And he said, well, we did a tango class. The entire class we were holding hands. Is holding hands sensual? Could be. It can be. You're 15 years old, sitting there at the movie theater with like another 15-year-old boy, and like, oh
Right.
boy,
If
it's
I'm holding my
sensual.
little brother's hand,
Then it's absolutely not. Or your grandmother's,
so
or your
it's
little
all
kid.
contextual.
Yes.
But okay, so
Yeah.
we're in a space where most of us are adults of,
Sure.
let's just assume, of comparable ages.
Ish.
Let's not even bring in the complication of, for now,
Mm.
the much vast difference in age, right? Just
Okay. And we're hugging.
and we're
Okay.
hugging,
So is hugging sensual?
and we're hugging someone of
Typically
a gender that we are attracted to,
often. Not always. Often.
or that we could be
We could be.
attracted to.
We
Not
could
necessarily a
be.
person, but just gender wise, no
Sure.
matter which way it is. Just
Sure. Okay. So then here's the question. Does being in such close and intimate physical proximity with somebody that we could be sexually attracted to, does that always translate to a sensual feeling? No. No.
That's
No,
like
you
saying
hug your brother?
you can't. Well, I would never be sexually attracted to my brother.
There are people that do.
Well, okay, well,
I mean, we've all
most
watched Game of
people-
Thrones. No.
most people. Listen, okay, those two actors were very beautiful. I can totally see.
Okay.
No, but like,
Okay.
I mean, it's a fair, like, it's one of those questions like, can people of the opposite sex or gender, I always mix them up, really be friends without it ever crossing the line, assuming
Yes.
both are available for friendship,
I think so.
for more.
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. Oh, well, okay. Okay, there's a give and take. I think okay, I think that maybe possibly tango, if you are looking for a sexual connection, it's going to
Mhm.
make it easier, right? You're in the space with other people, even if you're married. I think that I don't think I know of affairs that have happened in the tango
Right.
space, right? We've heard of things happening, we've seen marriages end. So absolutely, it can create the opportunity.
Yes.
It can create the opportunity. But I
If you're
don't,
looking for it,
if you're,
you barely have to breathe for it and it's there.
yes, exactly. But like my personal lived experience, having dated in
Mhm.
tango, having danced with people I'm dating, having danced with people I was interested in, I don't think that I felt that it was sensual. I don't think I've had a dance that I was like, "Oh, let me just go take a breather." I haven't had that. Maybe I'm taking a breather because it was a workout,
Right.
but like I have not felt the type of intimacy that I would feel behind closed doors,
Mm.
right? And you can have charged intimacy without touching, right? You don't
Yes.
have to touch for something to be sensual. I personally have not had that experience in tango.
You're probably also not looking for it. You probably
I was not
closed
looking
it.
for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
I have had experiences though where I do believe my partner
Hmm.
had that experience while dancing with me.
I wouldn't be
Yes.
surprised if you felt that reaction, as
Well,
sometimes followers do.
sure, but I would say that in those moments it was that I was following and I was a leader. And
Hmm.
I could tell that they were feeling much more in this dance. Not that I'm feeling something inappropriate,
Yeah.
right? But I could just tell that in their lived experience, there was something else happening.
Mm.
Or maybe I got
What made you feel that way?
um
Their intention, how they moved.
embrace, intention, the way they breathe.
Mm.
One time, which I would say was a bit inappropriate, I was dancing with someone and they actually kind of backed me into a wall.
Oh,
Okay.
not
So
as a joke.
not as a joke.
Oh.
Yeah. And well, if this person is listening, like they know the history there and that was not, let's just say that person had other feelings.
Mm.
Okay. So I wasn't super surprised by it and I would draw boundaries. Okay.
Right.
Um I have had also experiences where a dance would end and the person I was
Would
dancing with
linger.
would go, "Wow." And I was like,
It wasn't,
"Were we in the same pond?"
it wasn't that good.
Like, okay, all right. So,
But
okay.
actually, I think sometimes that can be confusing because sometimes you
Sure.
can have like a mind blowing experience that feels very wholesome, but isn't necessarily something that you feel like, oh, this feels like how I would if I were to like be sleeping with this person, for instance.
Right. Yeah.
I think for me, it's weird because so a couple of things. I have a dance background.
Mhm.
So I'm very used to being in very close spaces with people in a somewhat, let's say, professional way,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And I also did like Latin dances for a while as well. So
Mhm.
it's like you know how to literally have bodies touching, but
Mhm.
there's always a line and you can
Mhm.
always feel it if one person pushes a little bit more,
Yeah.
then you know they've crossed the line. Even though your bodies, your
Yep.
pelvic area might be
Yeah.
connected,
Like bachata.
it exactly, right?
Mhm.
But you can tell when
Yeah.
it's truly the person's interested about the dance or when they're trying to do more.
Yes. Yeah.
So I am perfectly comfortable living in that space of close proximity without it feeling, let's say, sensual as we've defined it,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
both sensorial and sexual for now.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, like I'm African. I don't want to say most, I don't speak for everybody, but at least in my culture, my family, um, we move our bodies a lot
Mhm.
from the time you're a child until you're grandma age and plus. Like
Mhm.
you dance, you gyrate, you
Mhm.
dance with family. I have literally me and my grandmother like dancing on each other. Me and my mother the same, and it's never felt like, yeah, mom.
It's not
Like no,
sexual.
it's not
Yeah.
sexual in that way.
Mhm.
It's just how we express ourselves,
Yes.
and I think that's why for me it's like when I come into tango, it doesn't automatically feel like you said like something very more on the
Mm.
sexual side
Mhm.
because his body movements is not automatically sexual thing for me.
Yes.
Whereas I imagine, especially in the U.S., a lot of people who don't have that growing up, they're not used to moving their bodies in a way that flow fluid, their whole body, their
Mm.
shoulders, their chest, their hips. it kind of takes me back to what is it? Is it not Dirty Dancing? What's the other one? Footloose.
Oh, I
Right?
haven't seen
It's like, can
Footloose.
you imagine like
Yeah, but I have seen Dirty Dancing. I have,
Footloose,
yeah.
right? It's like, goodness gracious, if you move
Um,
a little bit, you're like, even if you're dancing by yourself, that's already like grounds for being arrested. Like in a culture like that, I can totally imagine why you come into tango and you're like, ho, ho, ho,
yes.
and you don't know how
Yes.
to react.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and why well, and also I think let's add that, like, because stage tango typically is more sensual,
And it's
it
usually what
is
people
about
see.
expressing emotion
Mhm.
and being, like,
Right.
oh, passionate, right? Because that works better in a performance,
Right.
right? But if somebody treated me during a tanda like we were on stage and this was their scenario moment, I would be like, "What is happening?" But I will say, I think some people want that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That's I think sometimes people are dancing for that, and as long as both people are on the
Agreement.
same page.
Yes.
Agreement,
Yes.
yes. And I think like, okay, well, if maybe to you you're like, well, no, it is sensual. That's I dance to feel sexy and I dance to have that moment of
Mhm.
desire and then walk away from it. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But as long as everybody's in agreement.
I think there's also, I'm a bit conflicted because when you move, like as a woman, like feel, like embody your femininity
Mm-hmm.
and your masculinity to like
Hmm.
your strength and your power, but also
Hmm.
embody this feeling in your body. And I think that's still not necessarily sexual. It's like you don't
Right.
want to be dead
Right.
moving.
Right.
So I don't know
Yeah.
how to.
Well, okay. So like it's expressive, it's
It's
creative.
expressive. Yeah, yeah.
I think we
Like,
confuse in this culture in America specifically. We confuse the physical with sexual because we're so used to
yes.
like sell a hamburger, it's a lady in a bikini. You sell a car, it's a lady in a bikini. You want to sell lipstick, it's their glistening lips, right? Everything has this sexual charge,
Mhm.
right? But that's not the
It doesn't
experience
have to be
worldwide.
native inherent. So
Exactly.
like I was saying, like one thing, so how do we describe this experience,
Mm,
right? Where I was told once, speaking just from a heteronormative experience bubble,
mm,
like
mhm.
when you embrace, you should embrace, like as me as a woman, if I'm embracing a man, like embrace the man like a
Mm,
woman would embrace a man, and the man
mhm,
should embrace the woman like a man should embrace a woman, right?
mhm.
And the idea was that it's more than just hold hands, hold, and just
That we're
move in space,
embracing.
right? It's like
Okay.
embrace and bring this sense of, I don't know what it is. And maybe that's why it feels very sexual. I think,
Ah,
I'm sure people in Argentina would say, like, you come, like, you don't just like walk into the embrace, right? Like,
yes.
you walk
Yeah.
into the embrace. What is that? Is that sensuality? Is that
I
sexuality?
don't think it is, and I think maybe we don't have a good word for it.
Yeah.
Because here, let's say, and I'm going to put this, let's say Joaquin had been dancing for a long time, right?
My
Or I'll
Joaquin.
use John. You're Joaquin, yeah. Or I'll use John, right? If I watched a woman embrace him on the floor in this way, fine, totally fine. Hand on the back, whatever, or even coming up to the neck. But if I watched a woman embrace John, but then her hand came and
It
like
slid.
up, oh no, no,
I better
no.
see him elbow the out of
He will
her.
not be dancing with that lady again, right? So there's like a line. There is this
Yeah.
tiny
It's
line,
okay.
right? Where if you cross it, you know you've crossed it. It's like I had a friend once who's also married in tango. Both of them dance, and she said one time she watched a woman do that. You know, you do that thing when you like stretch up, and she was like, "No, no, not dancing with her again." And I was like, "Okay, there is a line, and we can recognize it when we see it. We can
Mhm.
recognize it." I'm gonna say too, as a mom. As a mom, I brought my kids to tango.
Mm.
I would not be bringing my kids to tango if I thought this was like some sexual thing. It's wholesome. I think it's family friendly.
Mhm.
I certainly
It
would
can
not
be.
have my teenage daughter coming to start learning tango if I thought that these men were like, "Oh, I'm embracing this girl, woman." Right? Like there would be this line. So in
Right.
my brain it's very, very different, but I also understand that for some people, yes, okay, fine. They're not gonna be dancing with my daughter.
I think it's something that, like the embrace, it starts off. maybe here, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's something that you have to gauge with your partner. And so you start off at a more neutral position, and then maybe one person proposes, and if the other person responds, then you go deeper with each other.
Yes.
But if not, then you keep it at wherever level is started. And I think that can also be beautiful in being open and hearing and listening and communicating with each
But
other.
are we
that way.
getting into the realm of sensual in that? I think it's slightly
As we
different.
get
I think you can be like deeper and connected and like really intimate.
right.
I still don't think it's that.
Oh, we've
is the sensual.
defined for this conversation sensual as having both a sensorial and a sexual aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we don't say the word sensual and we say sexual.
Sexual, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so here's the other thing too.
Because there's like a sorry.
Well, so people can have two different experiences in the same dance, right? So maybe one person is having this fantasy play out or whatever is
Right.
happening. Like my friend said, somebody bit her ear, growled and bit her ear during a tanda. So clearly
That's
that
like,
person
okay.
was having some feelings and she wasn't, right?
I've had someone whisper, like groan in my ear. I was leading them, and it was lovely. And then I was like, "Oh, is this what leaders experience?" By lovely, I don't mean lovely.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
It
never
was
asked
like,
for it anyway,
yes.
but I especially didn't ask
Yes,
for that.
but
so.
clearly that person was experiencing something,
Right.
right?
And maybe what it is, what it becomes is like the fact that you've now, like, I didn't give you that vibe, or I hope I didn't give you that vibe, but we don't have that relationship for you to do that.
Right.
And now you've crossed the line.
Right.
Like, even if you feel it, it doesn't mean you need to express it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, John, what about you? Well, because you got faces happening here.
I do have faces.
Yeah. What are your thoughts here?
So as a leader, and so speaking, I don't want to generalize. It's just for myself. I don't think tango has ever been sexual for me when I'm dancing. I feel like just the context is not there. It's pretty technical. I'm trying to connect with the music. I'm trying to be
You
aware
got other things
of
to worry about.
yeah, I'm trying to be
He's the
aware
engineer here.
of the other partners or other dancers on the floor. I have to navigate, and so my mind is just really not there. I'm trying to like enjoy as much as possible. So no, not sexual. If anything, if I felt that it was gonna lean in that direction, I would actively dislike it because I think it would be really distracting to what I'm trying to achieve or get out of this dance. And yeah, no, I'll leave that for the bedroom.
For
And then,
Melody.
yeah. And then just dance when I'm dancing. And I totally understand. And I'm so when Melody and I were talking about this, I was kind of curious. We use the word sensual as a positive adjective in this country. I feel if we just describe some activity as sensual, it's a positive thing, right? The sexual, not so much, depending on the context. Sensual, definitely yes. So I ask you guys the question: is there some portion of this is where we're kind of deluding ourselves a little bit because we want to say that, hey, this thing that we enjoy so much, that we invest so much of our time and resources into, we want it to be portrayed as the most positive activity as possible. And if people are asking if it's sensual, this positive adjective, that we're obviously going to say yes, especially given that there's all this, culturally, there's this stereotype of it being the sexy dance, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I'm at the bus stop with the neighborhood parents, and they're like, "Oh, you dance tango? Isn't that so sexy? It's just a sensual dance." And I can't. It's like I can't have this conversation right now. It's like 8 in the morning. I can't like explain why. I'm not.
I think, okay, this is what I think. When you meet someone and you start having a conversation and you talk for hours, and it's just like the convo is just going and you're just vibing off of each other, and it's like, whoa, it was almost like a mind meld, almost spiritual in this higher sense. I think and meditative, like we said before. I think we feel that, and that piece, it's not like, oh, I want to go sleep with this person. It was just such a great thing that we
We were connected.
connected
Yeah.
together. And I think when we feel that, we don't have the word for it, like you said, and so we say it was sexual because we
Mhm.
have the added physical component to it, not
Right.
just like a
Yeah.
communication, like a talking component.
I think so for some people. I think like having, because I've been kind of polling people, and I've been listening to other podcasts about it too. And I know that for some people, they are having whole fantasies play out during 15-minute tandas, okay? About like, oh, this is our torrid affair and we're dancing. And like, okay, like let's say we're dancing pugliese and it's like dramatic and we're dancing in a dramatic way and the embrace is dramatic. Like
But
I
even
can
then,
see why
it's
maybe they're feeling that way, but I guess to me personally, I just
yeah,
don't.
no, it's kind of like acting.
Yeah.
It's like if you were acting with someone and you had to be incredibly romantic and
Hmm.
even kiss, let's say, does
Hmm.
that mean that
How how
it
many
is what it
actors get
is, but you
married
may
after
not
the movie?
exactly. Oh, that's true too. But let's say you're married elsewhere, but you come into this thing and you're acting together in this moments because you both
Hmm.
want to create this thing together. And it doesn't mean that afterwards you're necessarily going to sleep with each other. It was just, and
Hmm.
that's why I think you can like say cut and then you
And then
separate
go.
and go
Yeah.
back, go by your business, you know?
Yeah.
So I think maybe what we're being repulsive about is not whether or not it's sensual or sexual, but usually when you say that, it implies that now there's something next that has to follow. Now it means we need to go take this to another level. And I think that's what I'm being repulsed by. Because when someone says it's sensual to me, I'm already thinking like it's, or rather, it's not only sensual.
Mm.
It's one bit of it. Because if you dance a milonga, no one's gonna say milonga is sensual.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well,
Even
okay.
if you dance a valse, no one's gonna say a
Yeah,
valse is sensual.
That's very, very
So
true. Yeah.
it's like I think for me personally, I just get offended because I'm like, that's not only tango.
Yeah.
There's other aspects of it. If I dance a Darienzo tango, because let's just keep
Uh,
it in the same genre.
stop,
I'm not
yeah.
going to say that
Yeah.
it's or if I dance a Rodriguez tango, it's not
Okay,
gonna
okay,
be
but
sensual.
Pisarli, Pugliese,
Exactly. So
or
there's
let's say you dance Buscandete
mm-hmm.
or a romantic song.
Mm-hmm.
Is tango suddenly romantic? Are you having a romantic connection because of
Yeah.
music playing and you're
Yeah.
dancing together?
I guess it depends. So I think that answers our questions. It's not inherent to
Mm-hmm.
the dance. It's like the context we put into it because
Mm-hmm.
we want to buy into the mood that the music is doing, is portraying, or we have our own personal fantasies that we want to play out,
Mm-hmm.
or culturally we think this is what we should be doing and that's what we do. So yeah, I think I would agree with you that it's not inherent.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a very strong part of it. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
only part. And
I think, yeah, okay, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say not inherent. It's there if we add it to it. And I just want to be careful because like I'm thinking of like young people dancing. I'm thinking of like
right, that's true.
the brothers
Siblings.
dancing,
Siblings
siblings
dance with
dancing,
each other
mother and
actually. We're gonna
daughter. Yeah, like Ariadna and Olga
yes,
Pesio,
yes.
like they
Or even
dance.
if she dances with her dad.
Yeah, so like, or you see like a young child dancing,
With yes,
like I have videos of John
very
dancing
true.
with the kids when they were
Very true.
younger, you know. So like, it's if you bring it to it,
Yeah.
yes, then sure, sure. But by like inherently by nature, no,
Doesn't have
I
to be.
don't think so. And I'm gonna say I think it's unique because most dances you're not in such close physical contact in this tight embrace.
Mhm.
Um, for such a prolonged period of time, like we said, like a lot of it is hand
Mhm.
connection instead. The one dance I would say is sensual, and maybe two, but
Zouk.
no, I was gonna say kizomba, but zouk is
Zouk
sensual.
more than kizomba.
I think both. I think both. And
But
I
can
will
we
say
say that?
actually, because I danced kizomba when I started tango, and yes, I would say kizomba has
Why? It's very similar visually to tango.
because you often have the sandwiching of legs. So like you're getting more into like a bachata situation. Um and I think it just lends itself to crossing that line easier.
Mm.
And maybe I was like single and I was like, hey, okay, so maybe I was more open to that
Mhm.
in that. But like, I mean, tango, our hips are not typically coming. Near, well, the leg wraps, but you know.
True, like when you walk, but even when you walk, your hips are quite parallel with each other. Your leg is really in the space of the other person. And when we hug, I feel like we actually get more out of the hugging than the pelvis touching.
That's true.
Especially if you hug and you bring your hand, especially if it's around the person's neck. The holding of the hand somehow feels very different from the other dances, but it feels even more like intimate in how you grab someone's hand. Remember when you said your friend John, the one that was playing with the person's bra, didn't really mean to you? I'm sure they also like when you slide your hand across someone's back.
That's true. That is true.
I don't know. I'm conflicted, Melody. Now I feel like I'm talking myself out of it.
I'm still not. I think. I
I agree to your
only
point.
have my lived experience, right? And I think the adjectives I would use are like creative, playful, cathartic, meditative. It can be intense, but not confusing intense for like passionate.
Yes.
I think like even a scenario that's acted. They're not feeling that in the moment.
Right.
They're like,
That's
am
true.
I nailing my choreo?
But
right?
question whether you feel okay, just because they're not feeling it, does that mean that it's not?
So to the observer,
Mhm.
it is. I think to the dancers, it probably isn't.
Ooh, that's an
Maybe
interesting
I'm gonna go to the
point.
milonga now, John. He's gonna be like, "What's happening?" Because I'm gonna be like, and I'm gonna be like, "Can I
No,
make this
no,
sensual?"
no. I'm too tall. That's not gonna work.
It's true. It's true. You're too tall.
Like nibble
Can't
at
get
his
in the
collarbones.
I'm gonna start growling.
No, I think it's for me. I do what I don't know the word for it. Maybe I should have looked this up before we started talking, but I don't know what that word is for like that mental state that you enter with another person. That I think is what we're feeling a lot of times.
Yeah.
When we both get there together, but because like you're saying, it may not be the same for a parent and a child dancing together. For instance,
Okay. You're saying doing it together, and
like we
I'm just
both
wondering if it is actually that it's like it's the oxytocin release,
Mhm,
which is the same thing that
mhm.
happens when you orgasm. Okay. Okay, I'm throwing this out
Wait,
here.
we're talking about
But
parents and children. Wait, let's separate this.
but it is also the same thing that happens when you breastfeed. It is also the same thing that happens when you give
Ooh.
birth. It is also the same thing that happens when you hug. So like, yes, it's chemical, but it's context, right?
Context.
It's context.
Yeah.
It's also actually the same thing that happens when you pray or you
Mm.
meditate. It is
Mhm.
the same chemical, so it's context.
Ah, I love this. So it's more of a biological reaction, which
Mhm.
we're saying with the right context can be sensual.
Mhm.
With a different context can be a wide range of things.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. And maybe we are just confused. Like our society doesn't have
Yeah.
words.
Yes, even we can't even
Yeah.
express
So,
it.
yeah. So you are experiencing this thing together
Right.
that maybe we just don't really have shared spaces where we typically have this shared kind of
Yes.
experience, except in
In
an
a
intimate
sexual.
setting, a sexual setting.
That's a very good point. So we
And
don't have
maybe
anything to
that's it.
compare it to.
Yeah. Now, I have never been to the all nude Malanga. So,
The one in Germany.
the one in Germany. So maybe that's different. Maybe if somebody who's been can comment and tell us, is that sensual? Because my imagining of that is not sensual.
Yeah,
I
that
have
just
to
seems
say,
awkward.
it sounds like a nudist beach, which also doesn't sound sensual to me. But, like things hanging out, dangling all over the place.
Why do we want that? I don't understand. Maybe I'm just small minded. I apologize.
Maybe I really want to know if anybody has been like, even if you don't want to comment, send us a message.
So I guess
and
what
let me know.
what do we do about this? I think
Yeah,
there
what do
needs
we
to be
do?
like a so what. Sorry, I'm doing the consulting thing. Um so I think for me the takeaway from this conversation is tango can be what you want it to be.
Yes,
Um
it's multifaceted.
it's multifaceted, emotionally,
Mhm.
and probably even more importantly, it's what you want it to be, but hopefully it's with the person that you want it to be with. Let me rephrase
Yes,
that. Hopefully there's some sort of agreement in whichever mode you choose that
you're on the
both
same
people
level.
dancing, yes, because
Yes.
you don't want there to be one person wants it to be more sexual and the other person wants it to be less sexual, and you're both doing that together.
Yes, because like we don't want to shut out the experience. Like I think it's totally valid when two people are like, "Oh yeah, this is what we do want," but also we don't want a space where like 40-year-old men are like breathing hot and heavy on the neck of 18-year-old girls, like
Or
and
even if it's the same age, there's some people that I don't dance with just
just
because
because.
they tend to move more sexually, and I'm just like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want that. By
Yeah,
default, I don't want that. I
yeah.
want to reach that stage maybe if it happens and I feel a certain kind of way in my own body, but not by default.
Would you ever say anything about it to them, or you just
No,
choose to not
I was
dance with
just
them?
not dance with them. What am I gonna say? Sorry, I don't.
Like, hey, I don't like the way XYZ feels. Could we ABC?
Well, so I had a similar question with someone. If it's something that they do every now and then, that's different. But if I see this as a consistent way that they dance, then I flag that as that's this person's dancing style. I don't think it's for me to tell that person to change their dancing style so I can feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I just don't.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if that's a good thing, that's a bad thing, but it is
Yeah,
what it
I
is.
think I probably also would just avoid. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what you guys are saying is that whatever you are feeling, whatever you want to get out of the dance, it's fine, but don't assume that your partner is feeling the same thing or is trying to get out the same thing as you in that moment.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think be perceptive.
Are we saying that we should listen
Oh,
to each other in the dance and listen to see how people react and what they react to and adjust?
it's a
Is that
groundbreaking concept.
no, really? Is that what we're saying? I'm confused. What? Why would we do this?
Yes, yes. I think that's what
This
we're
is
saying.
crazy. How do we do this? Have we ever been taught how to do this? I wouldn't even know where to start.
Only every class. No,
Only every
only every class. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So I want people to weigh in here too,
Yeah.
because I'm curious. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe
Maybe our experiences are very narrow.
yeah. Maybe we have narrow experiences. Maybe like the engineer brain just operates differently. The creative artist brain operates differently. Maybe it is inherently sensual, and we're just wrong.
Does that mean that if you don't feel that way, then you're not really dancing tango?
Oh God, don't start with that question.
I'm just saying, just tell us what you feel.
Yep.
No,
All right.
Contradict us.
You know what? No, you guys leave it open to be wrong. I'm gonna say that I think I feel like for me, I'm gonna be firm that it's not. And I feel like you go into it and there's a fantasy. There's a fantasy of what tango is that you have before you start dancing, and then
That's
you
true.
start dancing. And I don't think it ever is that fantasy 100%, but people want it to be on some level. And
Oh, there's something we missed really fast though. We didn't really talk about how tango is marketed.
I was gonna say, there's a reason why people come in with that perception.
Yes, because our images are
Very sexy.
sexy.
It's only sexy.
dramatic.
Although I do think sometimes I love more the photos that are more playful.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that actually attract my attention more now. But that's because I just know more now about tango.
Yeah, but maybe we are pulling in people that want that experience
Because of the marketing.
because of the marketing.
Ooh, we're self-selecting. And then
Mhm.
we're wondering why people all think the same.
Yeah. We're wondering why there's like bad behavior or
Right.
people are like, "Ooh, I didn't like that."
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's why. That's
So
a
we
good
need more like cheese. This is tango.
Or
Come join us.
maybe we need more like milonga photos of people dancing milonga. I don't know. It's like a rock and a hard place because when I started dancing, I watched a milonga performance and I was like, "What? Why are we watching this performance?" I didn't get it, and now obviously it's my
your
favorite thing to dance, right? So, I don't know. Let's play with it. Let's see.
Well, this was quite
Could be salacious, might not be.
well,
informational.
this is the most sensual episode of Staying Grounded. Get in the comments.
Yes,
Thanks, John.
yes. All right. Well, see you guys on the next one.
on the next one.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Staying Grounded. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and spread the word. We'll catch you next time.